Our paper was entitled On Replication in Communication Science. We feel that replication is a particularly important aspect of the communication science field and area because without it, as we said in our paper, without replication, we are no longer doing good science, we are simply playing with numbers. In order to determine whether or not a finding is actually closer to true, we have to test it over and over again. Any one finding could be the result of a fluke, of a statistical error, of any number of things. And so if we were to actually build a communication science worthy of the name, we have to publish lots of articles on the same topics over and over again. That way, eventually we can build a cumulative science, we can conduct meta-analyses that we can trust and create accurate estimates of the effects. And from these, of course, we can build and test theories.
So one of the issues in our field is that while replications are important, and about every decade there's a big essay on how replication is so important, we continue to sort of not do it very often. And one of the things that we started thinking about is we just don't have the infrastructure and the incentives for doing it. So if you do a replication and it fails, maybe it doesn't get published because the reviewers say maybe you did it wrong, maybe there was a methods issue, or maybe if you do a replication and it's successful, maybe it doesn't get published because the reviewers say, well, isn't this just something that we already knew? And so we wanted to see if we could create some ways where we could provide incentives for scholars to tap into the structures that we already have, but be able to do some science that they really, I think we want to do, and we want to do a better job at. And so we put our heads together to sort of think of what ways could we come up with to be able to change those structures and those incentives.
And so what we did is we approached Dr. Ken Lachlan, who was at the time the editor of Communication Studies, with an idea for a special issue all about replication. And we kind of went back and forth with some different ways to do this. And so what we did was we decided we were going to make it sort of not quite a pre-registration, but kind of along those lines, where we would put out a broad call to the communication discipline and say, basically, anything that you want to try to replicate, send us, the idea. And we had reviewers review some of those ideas. So it wasn't a full-on paper. It was just, this is what I want to replicate, and here's why. Reviewers reviewed that, gave us the feedback back, and from that, we selected a variety of different articles for people to then go out and do. And basically with the idea that as long as you do a decent job of what you said you were going to do, this is going to be published. And so that was sort of how we approached this, to kind of incentivize, it doesn't matter what you find, we want to try to replicate studies, whatever the findings may be. And so that was, how we chose to sort of do that part of it. And in line with that, we have several thank yous we want to give out. Number one, as I mentioned, Dr. Lachlan in Communication Studies for accepting this special issue. Sarah Stefano, who was the editorial assistant, was invaluable to us and to the reviewers and authors, who we also want to give a thanks to. Reviewers who, reviewed something that maybe was a little bit different than they were used to, did a great job. And actually, as I recall, everyone was on time, which was great. Authors for writing good stuff. I mean, that's always the most important part. And we also want to thank the division, the Communication Science and Biology Division, for recognizing this work as being useful to science. That was our goal, and we're glad that others saw that it accomplished that goal as well. So thank you.